worked in law. I loved it, but I began to want something deeper. I wanted to do work that had not just a passion, but a purpose. And I sleep very well at night knowing that I really believe teachers leave the world a better place. I think that education transforms individuals, but also societies at large. And so it's something that the sense of purpose is never ending, because you have one group of students and then they just stay part of you always, and then here comes another group. And every single year, I feel it. It's tangible. I feel the purpose with why that kid is in Marmot. One thing I noticed during the event today, several fifth grade teachers were referenced. I am myself a fifth grade teacher, and I've always believed a big part of that was because I had a fabulous fifth grade teacher. Her name's Jeannie Medford, and she is no longer teaching in school, but she teaches water skiing and swimming, and she's from a smaller town where my family's from, so I'm still in contact with her. But I remember very clearly, she trusted us. She taught us what she taught us, but then she also gave us this freedom that I'd never fully experienced before, where you learned what you learned, but then you also had some say in it and some buy-in. And so that I felt like really empowered me as a teacher to make sure I provide that for my students. Another teacher that jumps out is Miss Marsden, was my third grade teacher. I swore that I would read Charlotte's Web. It was going to be the only book I ever read after she read it to us. I was so moved by Charlotte's Web. I had a high school science teacher, Greg Gilbert, who's now the superintendent in Santo ISD. And I love, this was a long time ago, and I could ask questions and he either knew the answer or he would find it. And this was before you Googled everything. So I was lay awake at night, literally thinking of questions to ask him, and just how he would ignite that desire to learn more always inspired me. Marsha Hamilton was another. She was a high school literature teacher I had. So there's so many. I hate to leave anybody out, but those are the first four that immediately jumped to mind. I traveled a lot. I'm really drawn to places that are not the typical places, and so I have a lot of experience in Morocco, which is where my husband is from. Kenya, I've worked with a school in Kenya that's for street kids, and that was a very powerful thing to me, because working with those kids, they live at the school, but they, before that, lived in the streets, so they had no supervision, no families, but they're the most resourceful kids. So a lot of the things that we do here that we think, maybe that's too rigorous or maybe that's too much, I'm like, my kids in Kenya could do it. They can do it. They can do it. And so I feel like that's seeing, we know the challenges that we have here. We know the challenges that families face, that students face. And so I think sometimes when you're in other countries where it seems like a bigger, obstacle to come over, they do it. And so I just think, well, if they can do it, we can do it. And then I like to expose my students to that, because I think a lot of times when students here feel that lack, or they don't have this, or they don't have this, and I wish I had this. And then they get to connect with kids that have even less, and they begin to realize how rich they are, maybe not materialistically, but in so many other ways, and how much they have to offer. I think that's really powerful. The past few years have been very challenging on so many levels with the pandemic. And I think that as kids come in, they're still working on confidence. I know that now they have a year under their belt, and I think that will help. But I still think kids are kids, and they still have all those social needs and emotional needs. And the biggest thing, I've always noticed this with teaching, that the biggest and most powerful thing you can do right away is establish your relationship, not just with the student, but with their family. And when everybody works together, sometimes if those kids don't have that belief at the beginning of the year, you start day one, building those little bricks of confidence and those little bricks of intelligence, and you see the reward for it later. But I think starting off the year right away with those relationships, and so I hope to continue that. I think it's the most powerful thing we do. Obviously, content knowledge and passion are important, but I think what makes an excellent teacher is your heart. And I think the way you connect with kids and their families and your community, it's a win-win-win-win for everybody involved. And I think that's what makes a teacher truly excellent. I mean, you have to have the knowledge of the subject, of course, but you can't have one without the other. So continuing to improve your skills with that, and continuing to improve your knowledge and how to best address it. I love neuroscience and understanding how your brain learns and retains information, and all of those things are important. But at the end of the day, it's the same way with my teachers. I can remember teachers that taught me a lot of things, but I think it's always our own teachers that inspired us, that empower us. And so that's the type of teacher that I think a great teacher strives to be. I'm Shelley Jeoffroy. I teach 5th grade math at Otis Brown Elementary and Irving ISD.